ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Watch More Movies. I am your host, Ricky, and today we are going to be talking about The Long Walk and some dystopian films. Like with a lot of dystopian movies, good ones, there's usually a mirror held up to our society in the story. You can see a lot of movies as the reflection of the current time, either present or at the time the film's coming out. They hold common themes and reflections of what we have become or trying to avoid becoming. There's usually a lot of fun action set pieces or very intense drama, and with some of these, there's a bit of both. Today's headlining film is The Long Walk, directed by Francis Lawrence, who made Constantine with Keanu Reeves, I Am Legend, Water for Elephants, and most notably all of the Hunger Games films after the first one, as well as the Hunger Games prequel from a few years ago, and is currently filming the upcoming edition of Hunger Games prequel. The story follows a group of 50 young men who sign up to partake in the Long Walk, a contest that is meant to inspire the country and rally together for a military agenda of being the best military in the world once again for America. You must walk at a minimum of 3 miles per hour. If you stop or go below, you get 3 warnings. If you walk off the pavement of the path, you get your ticket. After the 3rd warning, you get your ticket. And your ticket is a bullet to the head. The winner of this contest gets a large sum of a cash prize, as well as one wish they can use on anything they want. Our main character is Ray, played by Cooper Hoffman, and we follow his journey on his long walk, but there are several central characters that we also get attached to and learn lots about. Notably Pete, played by David Johnson, who is a standout for me personally. This entire cast of young actors knocked it out of the park. By the mile point 50, I was beginning to feel my own legs get tired, and you can feel it with every single step that each one of them take. Mark Hamill also has a small role in this as a major, and he is also a menacing presence in his limited expressions. I love the not-so-subtle mirror this holds up to our society, that we place so much love and emphasis on our country, into our military, and our propaganda machine that we are willing to sacrifice these naive lives for the sake of a strong and fierce army, and that we dangle rewards and benefits in front of them, only for it to not be worth anything if we die. There is a feeling of poverty and despair in this alternate 20th century America that when they talk about how they signed up, they knew it wasn't a voluntary drawing system for this contest, because they all know they're so desperate for this cash prize that they really had no choice. And this is the sentiment across the country, as each of these young men represent a state in each of the country. Several young actors shine in this, even if they don't start off as people that you want to survive or care about. You learn to by the end, and it is even more devastating by the end of the movie. It is the inevitability that hits you every time someone gets their ticket. If you want an exhausting, in the best way, dystopian thriller that is unrelenting and an emotional core, go out and see this in theaters ASAP. And now here are some recommendations of dystopian films, action, or thrillers that I highly recommend. The first recommendation is going to be 2006's Children of Men, directed by Alfonso Cuarón. Taking place in the year 2027, infertility leads to war and economic depression and has turned the UK into a totalitarian police state. We follow Theon, a former activist who is taken by a militant refugee rights group led by his ex-wife Julian, played by Julianne Moore. This is a gripping and heavy film to take in, and it's an example of a film that has a big budget, and you can have a big budget, thrilling action, intense emotion, and a larger political message to the world. It doesn't have to be preachy about it either. And these things just don't get made anymore. Alfonso Cuarón, someone who I do want to talk about more in the future, is a filmmaker who just has the natural touch with blockbuster filmmaking. He made this, Gravity, and Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban in terms of his big studio films, and always knows how to direct set pieces and make it his own. Harry Potter 3 is, for example, stands out significantly from his first 2 films, and while I'm not the biggest fan of Gravity, you can't say that those set pieces aren't intense and are like any other space set film that you've seen before. There are very 2 famous scenes from Children of Men, one on the side of a street and one long take shot inside of a car that is always floating around online and reposted every so often. Those are incredible on their own, but the entire film places these action scenes so carefully as you don't get distracted from the story itself. A perfect example is the car tracking shot. It moves the story forward and doesn't only get used as lots of action for the sake of it or to keep your mind busy. Clive Owen is incredible in this, as he plays this character Theon with the weight of the world on his shoulders and such an emotional toll that it brings his own personal journey along so much more satisfyingly by the end. Another aspect to this, and I might sound like a film bro, but the cinematography in this is jaw-dropping. Emmanuel Lubezki, or Chivo, never misses, and this might be one of his best. Children of Men is heavy, emotional, and thrilling, and I highly recommend it for a dystopian recommendation. Definitely taking a left turn here is, for the second recommendation, 2015's The Lobster, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. This film really skyrocketed him in terms of notice in America. After The Lobster, he went on to direct The Killing of a Sacred Deer, The Favorite, Poor Things, and the upcoming Begonia. The film follows David, played by Colin Farrell. He goes to a singles hotel where if you do not meet the love of your life within 45 days, you are turned into an animal of your choice. If you have not seen any of Lanthimos' other films, he has a very unique sensibility and style to his filmmaking and his writing. His characters are often dry and direct, but I find that the funniest part of the characters he writes. Even when his films aren't based around some grand production sets like The Favorite or Poor Things, he manages to make the places in the film feel big and otherworldly. I like the commentary this film plays on about how society really fixates on relationships and the need to be in a relationship, or the need to feel happy only due to being in a relationship, rather than being a choice someone makes to actually want it versus being thrust into it or being forced to. This becomes even more clear once David meets a woman who I don't actually believe is ever named, played by Rachel Weisz. Their romantic interest in each other, against the expectations the hotel has for them, form greater than their previous matches did, and it ensues in a cat and mouse game that they have to keep secret until they can't any longer. Very, very funny movie that gets very dark at times without spoiling anything. But if you are interested in getting into Lanthimos' work, this is a great, great entry point. This was mine personally, so highly recommend it. Number 3 is 1927's Metropolis, a nearly 100-year-old silent sci-fi film and clearly one of the most influential films of all time. It is crazy, even with a 2025 perspective, how this, we're going to say 100-year-old for argument's sake, 100-year-old sci-fi film world builds, and it sets at such a grand scale that you feel this large city-like structure and society, as well as the power hierarchy in a film with no dialogue. Though, of course, there are title cards to help. It follows Frater, the son of the city master, and Maria, a saint-like figure to the city workers, attempting to bring both classes amongst Metropolis together and to not divide anymore. Meanwhile, the city master, Frater's father, is working with a scientist to build a machine-like woman that will divide both classes from the inside out and stop any sort of rebellion against what the status quo is. While watching Metropolis, you can feel that there are so many science fiction films that got their influence from this, and where it had been diluted over the years, but so many tie back to this. Whether it be visually, these grand scale shots of the futuristic city, or the power dynamic and oppression of the ruling class over the bottom. There is no doubt that this remains a staple in cinema history for the reasons above, and if you want to see where a lot of your favorite sci-fi films got their inspiration from, Metropolis 1927 is the one to go to. Next is 1985's Brazil, directed by Terry Gilliam. The film follows Sam Lowry, a low-level government employee in this futuristic dystopian society that isn't far off from where we're headed, to be honest. Sam often dreams about being a knight in shining armor, which he is not, saving a woman from fantastical situations. One day while at work, he comes across this woman in real life, and he is eager to find out who she is and why she's appeared in his real life, all of a sudden as he tries to find true love and his meaning. This is a very satirical and comedic look at government control, over-reliance on technology, and how government capitalism has taken over society. Jonathan Pryce is hilarious as his character goes through an insane journey through government oversight on everything through society, without any of the repercussions that are dealt to its citizens. The production design is fantastic. You get a handmade feel to everything, and just like Gilliam's other films that I love, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is a perfect example. There is like a toy house feel that is so meticulously crafted for the city and almost trippy like visual style. It is another unconventional dystopian choice, but if you like something with a silly, colorful, and black and white contrast it paints in its society with lots of dark humor and an anti-capitalist punch to it, I highly recommend it. Alright, so my last dystopian recommendation is going to be a bit of a head scratcher, even for me. It is one that I am pretty torn on for very odd reasons. It is 2006's Southland Tales, directed by Richard Kelly. It is the most puzzling, I think, so far in this entire run of the show, all 6 episodes that I have recommended. It follows an alternative post 9/11 America where World War III has broken out. It stars Dwayne Johnson, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Sean William Scott, and Justin Timberlake. I don't quite know how to describe or give the plot exactly, but here's a Letterboxd summary. Set in the futuristic landscape of Los Angeles on July 4th, 2008, as it stands on the brink of social, economic, and environmental disaster. Boxer Santeros is an action star who's stricken with amnesia. His life intertwines with Krista Now, an adult film star developing her own reality television project, and Ronald Tavener, an Hermosa Beach police officer who holds the key to a vast conspiracy. So that's like the most vague it can be about a movie that has at least 5 different plots going on and 10 different things about America it wants to say. I will say, I really do admire the ambition and what it tried to do of what I could understand what it was doing. It wants to be a damning indictment on a war-proud country, but also be a sci-fi film that entangles several social issues together all into one big conspiracy. The reception to this film is so vast and so one end of the spectrum or the other, but the reason I put it on here, I have to at least give it credit for how ambitious it is trying to be. It genuinely may work for you or it may not. You may turn it off within 10 minutes. I'm right in the middle personally, but I do recommend it solely based on the ambition, attempt, and just genuinely just going for it. I could go more in depth with my thoughts about what did or did not work and be more specific, but this really is a film that if you don't know anything going into it, your brain might melt from just what you experience. Have not seen anything like it, but it is genuinely incredibly different from anything I've ever seen. So as far as where you can watch some of these movies, Long Walk is in theaters. I highly recommend you go see it in theaters. It is definitely an experience movie, and it makes it that much more thrilling when you watch it in the theater. Trust me. Children of Men, you can watch on Prime Video. Metropolis, you can watch on Canopy or Tubi. Southland Tales and The Lobster, you have to either rent or purchase, I believe. And Brazil, you can find on the Criterion channel. Well, thank you for listening to me talk about these dystopian movies today. The next episode is going to be the first in a series that I will do every so often on here about one of the best and one of my favorite filmmakers today. You can keep up to date with the show on Instagram at PodWatchMovies and on Bluesky at watchmoremovies.bsky.social, Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. The show's link tree is on both Instagram and Bluesky, so check out those platforms. It does help a lot to subscribe and follow. And until next time, watch more movies.